Papua New Guinea v. the Cook Islands. We got week 2 of Pacific Championships. So we have the Pacific Bowl here. I'm going to hit you guys with a preview. Now let's rip straight into it. I'm Longy. This is Burgz, and we know a little bit about international footy. We got one of 2 tips last week, Burgz. Feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this Pacific Championships, mate. It's going to be coming in another video, but we've got a different matchup to be talking about here with the PNG team taking on the Cook Islands. Cook Islands not that impressive last week, if you ask me, but we'll talk about them in just a moment. We got a few faces in this PNG team that we didn't expect to be there.
Yeah, man, it's a pretty mean roster. A lot of pace, a lot of explosiveness. So I'm keen to see how it plays out. But just to read it out here, we've got Morea at fullback, on the wings, Robert Derby and Alex Johnston. So plenty of pace there. At the centre spot, Zach Leibart. Opposite him, Nene McDonald. And in the halves, we have Voro and Lachlan Lamb. So pretty mean roster here. Burgz, I'll throw to you first because we talked about Nene McDonald at fullback. We talked about Johnston. Obviously, we mentioned Morea as an option there. What do you think of him?
Yeah, well, he's a guy who's grown up playing a lot of his footy for PNG or for the PNG Hunters in the Queensland Cup. Just recently moved to the Capras in the recent last NRL type season. Only played 9 games this year, predominantly a fullback, and he did grab 3 tries in those 9 games, but he's one of those younger guys. He's only 24 years old. He's got plenty of speed, but definitely a guy I would say for PNG fans that they can watch for the future. You know, guys like AJ and Nana McDonald, who are worthy options that we were talking about for fullback, are getting on that older side now. So I think it's good to have a guy in there under 25 that can maybe carry that one jersey for potentially the next 5-6 years.
Yeah, a bit of a tryout for the PNG Chiefs as well. Obviously, you bring a team in there. If you can bring some local talent in, if he stars in this tournament, he's going to have a great shot at taking that spot. Now, ripping into the back line here, plenty of weapons here. I'll leave the Cowboys for you, Burgz. So I'll talk Nene McDonald and Alex Johnston here. Plenty of pace, plenty of power, especially with Nene McDonald there as well. And the offloading ability of McDonald with Johnston, the greatest try scorer ever on the outside, it's going to be difficult to contain, especially for a Cook Islands side who defensively weren't great last week. They've got some individually strong defenders, but I just don't know how they're going to contain it. So I'm backing Alex Johnston to score a try in this one for sure.
Yeah, I think Nene McDonald has also got a job this week, especially if he's going to be playing right side. Trying to lock up Kale Iro is going to be one of his biggest tasks this week. I thought both centres for the Cook Islands last week were standouts as well. So not saying that Zach Leibart potentially, if he's going to be on that left or right-hand side, I'm not too sure which side these guys are going to play. I would say Alex Johnston predominantly a left winger and Derby playing right wing most of the time. So you'd probably stick the Cowboy with the Cowboy and then Nene McDonald with his longtime PNG teammate as well on that left-hand side. So that leaves Zach Leibart, I guess, in the position where he's going to have to lock up Kale Iro. And what a matchup that's going to be. I think Robert Derby had probably a mixed game the last time out for PNG. Those errors keep coming into his game, but he's got plenty of speed. And I think one of the things he can be comforted by is that Zach's going to be next to him this week. And Zach, for all intensive purposes, is a pretty good defender from my eyes. And I'm not sure that I want him starting for the Cowboys long term, but I think he's got a little bit more to prove for me on the back of an ACL injury. So, yeah, struggled to find his feet this year, but hopefully he can continue with some strong performances here in the Pacific Championships.
Yeah, plenty of speed as well on that edge too. And you look at both wings there, like Alex Johnston, Robert Derby, they don't need a second invitation. If you give them a chance, they'll score a try. Roderick Tai, obviously, as well. We mentioned him last week. Obviously, it's come out he is injured for this too, so he's not going to be available. Ripping into the halves, though, because they're going to need to unlock this talent. And often the Pacific nations historically have struggled with that. I think more recently, it's not as much of a problem. And we go to Lachlan Lamb, who we talked about ad nauseum last week. Leads the Super League in 40-20s and leads the Super League in try assists. So this is a guy who is pretty solid at first grade level in the NRL, has dominated the Super League, doesn't get the hype for some reason. There's a lot of guys that get talked about. I don't know why Lamb isn't talked about, but here he is now. Again, gets to prove it on an international stage, and I think he's going to have a big day out. I think a lot of it's going to run through him.
Yeah, I would easily say he's the best half on the field in this game, looking at the matchups there.
Oh, yeah.
And especially considering what some of the plays the Cook Islands halves came up with last week. I thought they ran the ball quite well, but other than that, wasn't really too ingenious from them, if you don't mind me saying. But one thing I would like to highlight is that Voro finally gets a chance after being behind Zach Leibutt's brother, Kyle Leibutt, for quite a long time, who retired earlier this year. We did speak about that in our PNG preview, but really keen to see how Voro goes, finally being accepted as the number 6 moving forward for PNG, I would say, at least their number 1 choice at that 6th position. So hopefully he can be a good foil for Lachlan Lamb. I know Lachlan Lamb likes to run the ball a lot, but Voro doesn't really offer too much in the kicking game, so he's really going to have to make up with it with that, passing game, bit of silky footwork maybe, and then also add that running game, powerful runner of the ball.
Yeah, that's going to be tricky with the kicking game. I mean, Lamb's going to have to run it. In the game against the Australian PMs 13, it was actually Nene McDonald who was the second top long kicker for them. So maybe he steps in, takes a few punts. He's got a boot on him, but not ideal.
Good struggle.
Across to Oh, look, I think they'll get into good position though. For the Cook Islands though, look, obviously a tougher game. Fiji put on a show. We saw Dream Baller scored 4 tries in that game, but there were some bright spots for them. So Isan Masters at fullback. We have Alberg, Iro, Rennie, and Ioka in the back line there. Patoko and Cowley in the halves. Sorry, man, I knew you were going to read those out. I just jumped right in, and then I've realized what I've done here.
Is that you've butchered a couple of
oh no,
pronunciations
I wasn't planning to do it.
I'm happy to let you go for it if you want.
I will say though, Alberg, man, he was fantastic in that game last week. And look, it wasn't a perfect performance, right? You got a couple of tries there.
And you're just saying that because he's got no hair on top.
I am a bit biased towards a bald man, and he's the only one on the list here, mate. So he's aerodynamic and help him get to the try line. But he was effective. He was effective in that game, and he's going to get opportunities again. But how much can they create for him? You talked about this before. The halves there, great running game. I think they had about 200 meters between them on the ground. So they were running tough, but just didn't unlock their outside men. And we'll talk about the back rowers in a second too, but neither back rower eclipsed 50 meters in that game. And we didn't see the outside backs get a lot of good ball either. Even Kale Iro, I just wasn't happy with his involvement either. So they've got some guys, they've got some really good ingredients here, but the game plan didn't work out last week. Fiji really, really swarmed them. So they're going to need to try and get some early ball to these playmakers and make sure their key guys are racking up big meters.
Yeah, there's no real creativity for mine. That was the big talking point that I got out of this game that they had against Fiji. They had a number of sets on the Fijian line, and it was crash ball after crash ball. And I was just looking like was I watching an under-8s game? That's how it kind of felt a little bit at times.
Brutal,
like, give it to the big guy and try and get him to crash over. And it worked one time. I believe one of their bench props scored a name's escaping me at the moment. But other than that, there was a good line run by Ruben Rennie, I thought, but that was off the back of Isan Masters' good short ball. And again, Iro and Pride Peterson Rabati scored in a bit of broken play. So it wasn't really, good setup plays, or I don't think when you're looking at the Cook Islands, they're going to have these brilliant out the back sweeping plays or anything like that. It's not what I expect, but good line running like Ruben Rennie showed us the other day, probably not that hard to replicate on the other side of the field. I mean, you got one of the best centers in the competition, got to find him the ball, especially when he's next to a guy who just won the comp in Brendan Piakura. And we'll talk about him in a moment. But got to really sort out that left edge. It's actually a good left edge considering this Pacific Championships as far as that's concerned. But they've got to utilize it.
Well, how do they fix that though, right? Because historically, you think of the Cook Islands, right? And I think of Brad Takarangi, right? He's their center point for creativity. I think of Isan Masters, like you talked about as well. He's a guy who led the NRL in offloads at times, and he hasn't been in the NRL for a while now. But you add Kale Iro and you add some weapons here too. Alberg, seriously, I was impressed by some of his plays there. I'm trying to find how they fix that up because Takarangi obviously not in the team this week. Does Masters just get a lot more ball in this game? But if he gets too much ball, they're just going to swarm him. Like PNG's defense does not sit back and wait for you. So
no.
I'm a bit nervous for them. I personally think it's just going to have to be early ball. And you're going to have to bring Kale Iro in a bit. You're going to have to bring Brendan Piakura in a bit. These types of guys are top flight NRL talent, and they should stand out in this game. So I'm thinking early ball for these guys. Play off them.
Yeah. Well, we saw with Iro, he scored his try back through the middle of the field, just exposing some weak defense. So I think in this kind of climate in a competition like this, you almost need to maybe drop him under a couple of times, or even have some plays to him down the middle of the field where he can really extensively use that tackle breaking ability that we've seen him. That's seen him become like one of the most prominent centers in the NRL as well. So use your weapons while you've got them. I think would be the advice that I would have for Toko and Cowley this week.
You make a good point there, because that is a tendency PNG have. They tend to jam up and jam in and just put shots on. So if you can find the man underneath there and, give Kailiro a one-on-one just on sort of sliding defense there, he's going to beat that man most of the time. So that's going to need to be their play. I want 250 plus meters from him too. I know it's a basic stat, but he needs to be the guy in this game.
And we've seen it in the past, is it worth throwing him to fullback in your head?
I don't mind the idea of it, but Masters isn't really the problem. I would maybe consider going Kailiro to fullback and Masters to 6, and then picking one of the halves there to stay in. But I think Masters offers more creatively. But maybe they make a late swap there. They're really playing for their tournament here. Like, they have to win this game and then hope results go their way. So we could see it, man. Now let's rip into the forward pack here. So I'll let you read this out, mate, because I stole your backline there. So give us the PNG forward pack and bench for us.
So as expected, there's a few names there with Capinius, Epape, and DeBellin, guys that we thought were going to make up the front row. DeBellin is definitely a move from lock to front row, in the place of guys like, not in the place of, but he's just been moved to front row, in favour for guys like Liam Horn at lock, who is predominantly a hooker at just 5'11", and also played hooker in the PNG Prime Minister's 13 game recently. Nixon Putt, who is a bit of a veteran as far as PNG is concerned. He is 29 years of age and has played for a number of different Queensland Cup sides. And then you got the stalwart, Reece Martin, one of our favourite PNG players of all time, and the goal kicker for PNG as well. We love to see that each and every time that he suits up. Jacob Alec Winky being on the bench is interesting for mine. I thought he would have maybe grabbed the starting spot, but I think that impact that he can provide off the bench is also a thing that I'd like to highlight. And I'm interested to see how Cooper Bai performs, as well as Finley. Finley Glare as well, who was in the halves for PNG the last time out. So yeah, it's a bit of a different look. Liam Horn, being 27 years of age, has played a fair few games at the second grade level, also moved over to the Castleford Tigers in the Super League. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's not the team that we thought we'd see, but it's still potent nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a bit different. So that PM13 game as well, I was pretty disappointed with PNG in that game. Obviously, we didn't get the first grade PNG side for that game, though, so I'm not holding any judgment on it. But one thing I really noticed there was, we saw Horn at the hooker spot in that game. He didn't play the whole game at hooker, but he had one dummy half run. And you take him, you move him into the lock spot, big defensive work rate. I don't mind that. But the thing I like here is Edwin Epape comes into the hooker spot. I love that dude, man. Like, there's nothing more fun. Like, 2022 World Cup, Epape. Like, he was so good. And he's been so good in the Super League as well. And he comes into this game. I would be shocked if we don't see him ripping and tearing and tearing them to shreds, quite frankly, in this game, especially when you add in the fact that, like you talked about the bench there. I'm excited about it, man. Cooper Bai and Alec Owienki both coming on there, both very, quick leg speed, explosive ball runners. When they come on, can the Cook Islands go with them? Because I look at this Cook Islands bench and there's a bit of talent there, but I just think they're going to get outclassed at the back end of that first half. And that's when we're going to see Edwin Epape really pop through. So hopefully he stays out for those minutes. Obviously, Glare, you mentioned, does play in the halves. Maybe he steals a few hooker minutes, but I'm just thinking this one's going to really break open back end of the first half.
Yeah, the one thing that I am a little disappointed about is that we don't have Judah Rimbu in there, who was fantastic.
That's weird.
Yeah, he was fantastic in place of Epape when he wasn't in the team, I think, due to injury last year. So on Judah Rimbu, I think a lot of our PNG listeners have got some high raps on Judah Rimbu. Obviously didn't have the strongest season this year. I think left the Super League halfway through the year. in June, I think it was. So he hasn't played quite a lot of top level football this year. So that's a little bit disappointing for me. And the other one for me is a guy that we spoke about in my preview as well that Nixon Putters replaced, Jeremiah Simbikin. As well, who was fantastic for North Devils last year. Moved over to the Super League, picked up an injury as well, but I kind of wanted to see him back in this team instead of Nixon. But you know, it is what it is, and I still think this PNG team is pretty strong, regardless.
I will shout out Nixon Putt as well. That game against Australia, he led the forward pack in meters there. I think it was about 150 meters there, 50 post contact meters. So he had some moments in that game. He played tough footy, and I think he'll come out and play tough footy again. It's going to be tricky though, because Ruben Porter obviously hasn't played tons of first grade, but has been effective at times for the Tigers. And then Pia Kura, I look at that game last week, and I like Brendan Pia Kura, man. I really like him. I thought he was going to be good in that game, and I think he had about 30 run meters in that game. No tackle breaks, no offloads. Had an error. I think it was 20 tackles with one miss there. So defensively fine, but just didn't impose himself on the game the way a player of his caliber should. I get he's a young guy, maybe he's a bit overawed, but when he comes in this week, I think he's got to realize, hey, I'm actually going to need to be one of the best players on the field for us to win this game. Like that's just how it works for him right now. So hopefully he can get involved. I think he's just going to have to force it really and get right in there and take it off first receiver.
Yeah, I think on names alone, you'd probably look at this Cook Islands forward pack and go, there's a lot of NRL experience in there, and why aren't the Cook Islands favoured in this game? Because the Cook Islands will probably go into this game as the underdogs, no doubt about that. But yeah, guys like Ruben Porter, who I've seen like absolutely been like dogs in a game previously for the Tigers, a guy who I thought was probably going to take the next step, ended up getting superseded by guys like Samuel Afainu at the Tigers Club, and probably using games like this to try and push his brand a little bit further and maybe see if he can get a different NRL opportunity. Guys like Pride Peterson Rabadi, who have been touted as young kids coming through the grades 7-8 years ago, even for Pride Peterson Rabadi. It's tries like he scored last week that remind you that he's still got a bit of ticker about him, and it's really interesting for me how he's never been able to kind of forge that NRL career that I really thought he would have. But yeah, on paper, like when you just look at this team list here, you go, well, this Cook Islands forward pack's got some players in it, but I feel like they all have to play to their highest potential to be able to beat this PNG side.
That's the hard part, right? That's the hard part. I'll throw in Mason Teague as well. I'll just mention him. He had some moments last week too. He's a guy who can ball, but I was going to hype him. Like when I thought about this game, I thought, yeah, Mason Teague. I think he'll have a day, but I just think Edwin Apape is going to have a bigger day. And there's a bit of bias in that. A few of the comments have noted that we have a little bit of bias. There's no denying that I'm an Edwin Apape fan. Like there's no denying that. Or Reece Martin. I've got a bit of bias for these boys, but the Cook Islands they're it feels like a couple of steps forward, a couple of steps back. That's kind of how I'm feeling about them. Like there's these good moments, and then
jogging in place.
Yeah. I just don't know how they crack it. Like I think, like you said, these guys are going to play at their absolute maximum potential to compete with PNG. So that's kind of how I see it. Let's look at our tips for this one though, because like this is really where we make the call, right? So I'll throw to you first here. PNG v Cook Islands. I want a score prediction. I want a bit of a game story, and if you want to throw in a wild prediction of sorts or a first try score or something like that, drop it in too.
Okay. Just
put you on the spot here.
You have really put me on the spot, haven't you? I think that PNG get this match done, and it's no blight on the Cook Islands. I think they'll be better than they were last week, and often I think teams who get maybe 1 week prep for a competition like this, it's very hard to turn up cold and perform to your best, which is what the PNG team are going to have to do. But I think it's just a case of this PNG team having played together quite a lot, and they also had a bit of a warm-up game. A lot of these guys have been in a squad environment for the last, I would say, 3 weeks, month to tell you the truth, with the PNG Prime Minister's game as well. I just don't see where the Cook Islands' overall advantage is. I think they have the best player in this game, which is saying a lot and tells you how much highly I think of Kale Iro. And I think he's going to have some really good moments in this game, possibly a double, because I just don't see them being able to lock him up, especially if they can organize some plays for him. Then I think it can be really dangerous. But again, it's got to come down to your playmakers, and I just don't have enough trust in the Cook Islands playmakers to be able to put the ball in spots for him to be effective. And that's what it's going to come down to for me. I think Lachlan Lamb's going to have a pretty outstanding game too, maybe a 40-20 in there as well. Could catch Esam Masters out, considering Lachlan Lamb has been pretty good this year in the Super League, and this is probably around that sort of level. It's just like slipping back into a glove for him. So I'm going to go PNG, all things said. PNG, let's say 34-20. So I think it'll be a nice high-scoring game.
Yeah. And first try scorer?
First try scorer, I'm actually going to back the Cook Islands to score first. And I'm going to go with your man Ulberg to score first.
Ooh, mate, keeping the roll up. All right, nice, man. I actually had a very similar prediction in mind. I'm going to stick with it. I'll take PNG to win this one 28-18. I think they'll start well. I think it'll be similar to last week's game. A little bit less polish. I think Dream Bull is a special talent when it comes to scoring tries. And I think PNG, they'll dominate in a similar way, but just won't have those moments of chemistry until, as you mentioned, right? A bit of a dry run here with this jumping in. So I'll take Alex Johnson to score the first try in this one, and I'll take Edwin Apape as man of the match, as I always do when PNG play. But that's how I see it going, man.
No bias at all, though.
It's a little bit of bias. But you know what? We're allowed to have a little bit of bias, right? Like, It's better than the mainstream where their bias is just towards Nathan Cleary in Australia, right? Like, at least we have a bit of bias.
True.
Around the place.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to see this guy play NRL. Like, someone pick him up on the back of this.
Oh, mate.
Like,
that would be good.
Do we become his agent and we start like an agency for PNG players just to get them
the
NRL?
PNG team might end up trying to sign him, man. Like, how old is Edwin Apape right now? He's not super young.
I'm going to say 28.
26. Okay. He's young enough, man. At hooker, it's 26. He'll be 27, 28 years old when PNG get their team in the NRL.
Well. Yeah.
I think he should be in the Chiefs list, man. Like, the Chiefs should be getting him for that first season. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that is our PNG v Cook Islands preview. So drop a comment below. Let us know your tips. Cheers for jumping on, as always, Burgz. Cheers, everyone, for watching. If you're still here now, I'll see you there on Saturday, and we'll talk about the game later. Cheers, everyone.